So good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Fortinet and CNS's virtual session today, which is powered by Redington. Today's topic we have on secure SD-WAN for cloud and branch transformation, and we have Farhan from CNS who will be delivering the session along with Farhan. We have Parvez from Fortinet and Josefa from Redington who will also be part of the session today. Thank you again, and Farhan, I think you can begin.
Thank you for giving the floor to me. Welcome, guys. Welcome for the session. I hope the session will be fruitful and beneficial for you to understand how you can utilize secure SD-WAN for your cloud and branch transformation. So I'll begin with the introduction with the agenda. So in the agenda, we'll be giving you a brief introduction of SD-WAN. We'll be discussing challenges and organization faces in current scenarios. We'll be discussing about solution offering, how Fortinet Security SD-WAN can enable enterprises with a secure, agile, intelligent SD-WAN. We'll be discussing use cases, how you can improve application performance, how you can enhance security, and how you can simplify and automate your operations. As a cherry on top, we'll be discussing, how you can extend your secure SD-WAN to a SD branch environment. We'll be doing at the end a live SD-WAN demo, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the session. As already brief, my name is Farhan Ashraf. I am CNS Cybersecurity Practice Lead. Along with me is Parvez from Fortinet. He is Senior Systems Engineer. We have Josefa from Redington. He is Senior Security Consultant. A brief overview of CNS. CNS is in the market from last 30 years. We are part of Gobash Group. So we have the financial capacity to deliver any size project. We have proven track record of delivering any size project. Recently, we have completed one of the largest deployment of SD-WAN in UAE. We are partnered with the best security vendors in the market. We provide 24/7 support through our NOC. We have around 320 employees in our organization. Apart from that, we do have our in-house software development team that can build innovative digital solution for you. We are basically based in UAE, Oman, and Kuwait. So what kind of solutions CNS provides? We provide digital infrastructure solutions. We provide cybersecurity solutions. We provide emerging attack solutions. We do cloud solutions. We do data analytics solutions. We do digital experience platform solutions. Apart from that, we have a complete separate division that provides digital banking solutions. So there is a host of banking solutions that we provide. I'm not going to go into details because it is not the subject matter. Apart from that, we have a complete set of engineering team that does projects and post-sale support. We do have a managed services team that does managed services solution for you, and we provide IT outsourcing as well. Now, I'll come back to the topic of discussion. Typically, in any organization, if you might agree with what I'm showing you here, most of the organizations, they are using MPLS to connect their branches to their head office, and they are using internet from their head office to connect to cloud. What's the problem in this kind of environment, in this kind of architecture? It is complex, it is less agile, it is high in cost on the WAN side. So what we are proposing? We are proposing secure SD-WAN for connecting your cloud and branches. So how does it transform your connectivity? Instead of using high cost MPLS link, you can replace those links with low cost ADSL connection, with low cost 4G, LTE, connections, and you can bundle them together to provide connectivity from your branches to your head office, as well as connectivity to the cloud if you are going for cloud transformations. What are the drivers for secure SD-WAN architecture? Generally, digital transformation. Your company requires WAN automation. Your company want to basically go to have a go to cloud strategy, or you want to basically save money from the very costly, slow and restrictive MPLS connections. What are the benefit of secure SD-WAN architecture? It provides business growth, making a branch cloud ready, and achieve and enable you to achieve 3 times higher performance. It helps you reduce your WAN cost. Approximately 40% or more you can reduce your WAN cost as compared to current MPLS connectivity. High efficiency means you can prioritize key business applications and can achieve 50% more higher efficiency. The solution is very simple, scalable, and manageable. It reduces the time of deployment and operations from weeks to minutes across multiple locations. So this is generally, the brief introduction of what we'll be presenting. I'll now hand over to Parvez to take you deep into the technical solution. Parvez?
Thanks, Ashraf. Can you make me the presenter? Let me see if I can present my screen.
Presenter. Yep.
All right. Okay. Let me know when you get.
Yeah. Parvez, can you see?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, please go ahead.
All right.
Sorry, guys, for the interruption. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, apologies for the inconvenience. I guess these are some of the effects of working from home and some internet issues. So I'll quickly get started without wasting time. Let me introduce myself. My name is Syed Parvez. I work for Fortinet as a system engineer. And we're going to talk about the SD-WAN, what FortiGate, is offering in the SD-WAN space, and, how it can help organizations, solve their WAN challenges. Yeah. For our next slide. Yeah. So if you look at it, this is how traditionally the WAN, has been, deployed in organizations, right? So you have the head office, and then you have the branch, and the branches are connected to the head office through an MPLS link. That has traditionally been the way of connecting to the head office, because of course all your resources, all your private data center, all your applications and everything is residing in your head office. So you connect to your head office, and then if you want to go out to internet, your traffic is going through the head office. It is backhauling to the head office. And as we have seen in the last 4 or 5 years, enterprises have started moving to public cloud, which could be a SaaS or IaaS or different types of services in public cloud. The traffic still has to go through the head office, because your full security stack is sitting in the head office. I mean, traditionally in a branch, you just might have a router, or certain organizations have started to have a small firewall over there, but traditionally you just have an MPLS router and you're connecting to the head office, and everything is going through the head office. So that has traditionally been the architecture. Next slide, we're going to talk about what are the challenges and issues with this kind of an architecture. All right. So yeah, for our next slide. So the number one issue is obviously the MPLS has been very, very expensive. Although MPLS, gives you the reliability, gives you the quality of service, but it's very expensive, right? And majority of the time you will have at least 2, because you want to have some sort of high availability and redundancy. So if one MPLS link goes down, you have another one, right? That results in lot of cost. The second is the poor user experience, because now you're moving to cloud. I mean, when you were accessing just the applications which were sitting in the head office, it was fine. although it was expensive. But now, because you're moving to the cloud, and even to go to the cloud, your traffic is going all the way to the head office, and then from there it is moving to the cloud. It results in a lot of poor user experiences and a lot of performance bottleneck, right? So that's the second issue. Third issue is obviously, manually operating all those legacy routers, because if you're just using an MPLS router, most probably it's going to be configured through CLI, and if you have 100, 200 different branches, there is a lot of complexity in managing those devices through CLIs, right? And last but not the least is obviously the security. And that's the whole reason that organizations have been a little hesitant in having a local breakout for internet and going directly to the cloud, because you have the whole security stack sitting in the data center. You have your firewalls, your IPSs, your proxies, your sandboxes, whatnot. You have all the security stack over there, and unless you have that similar kind of a security extended to the branch, nobody wants to just give direct access on the branch, right? So these are some of the challenges which we typically see organizations are facing. And our next slide will basically talk about how we address those challenges. So, Fran, next slide. All right, so that basically sets the stage for SD-WAN, right? And that's how we have seen and SD-WAN is not something new. Everybody's talking about SD-WAN from last 4 to 5 years, right? So what SD-WAN actually, from a business perspective, what organizations are looking to achieve from an SD-WAN, number one is obviously simplifying, right? You don't want to have multiple devices. You don't want to have, routers and firewalls and SD-WANs and, 3, 4 different devices sitting in a branch, and you need to manage them, because of course, if you have 100 branches, 200 branches, or thousands of branches, you don't have IT resources everywhere, right? So how you can simplify that, how you can reduce the number of devices, and at the same time, how you can, have security, how you can have better performance for your application, which could be going to your private data center or a public cloud, right? And obviously to reduce the overall cost, because then you have so many devices and sort of things, and you're using MPLS, and which is very expensive. At the end of the day, it's a lot of money, right? So how you can reduce that. Next slide, Farhan. All right. So just a view from the Gartner, that what Gartner thinks a good SD-WAN solution should have, right? So a good SD-WAN solution should be a lightweight replacement of multiple appliances. So again, when you're looking at an SD-WAN solution, it should not be just adding another box, because that's what normally happens, right? You have a router, you might have a firewall, and okay, now we need an SD-WAN, just add another appliance, right? That typically has been the approach, but what Gartner is saying, that it should be a replacement of multiple appliances with one single appliance. The second, use case is that it should be application aware. So when you are having an SD-WAN technology, that SD-WAN technology should be application aware, because what you want to do is you want to identify at application layer, and you want to do the traffic steering and traffic distribution based on the application, not just based on some source address and destination addresses and all, right? The third thing is how you can simplify and automate that. So you don't want to just do, play around with, like you typically do in MPLS scenarios, that you have static routes and you have defined some routing or policy-based routing and sort of a thing. What you need to do with SD-WAN, that it should have an automatic failover. It should have the capability to, monitor the performance of the links, and based on that, take decisions, right? And last but not the least is obviously to manage security, that, it should give you security, not just SD-WAN capabilities. So that's what Gartner thinks. Next slide, Farhan. All right, so let's now take the same example and basically see how the SD-WAN using its capabilities can solve those challenges, which you typically have having an MPLS, right? So the first thing what SD-WAN can help you is, instead of just using 2 MPLS connection, you can have one normal ADSL broadband kind of a line, or a 3G, 4G kind of a connection, and you can use that connection as a backup. So you can still use your MPLS for your very critical traffic. But now what you're also doing on top of that, because SD-WAN gives you the capability to monitor the performance of each link, right, in terms of latency, in terms of jitter, in terms of packet loss, right? And if it happens to be a scenario that your MPLS is not performing that good, or there is some issues on the MPLS link, and if that point of time your broadband link is performing better, your firewall is intelligent enough to start automatically routing the traffic through an IPsec tunnel, which is obviously built over the broadband link, right? So, and when both the links are up, you can do load balancing. So now you're utilizing both of those links, right? So that's the first step of migration. What we see that you just instead of having two MPLS links, maybe you can just have one, and you can add the secondary link as an ADSL link. All right. Can you build out the slide, Farhan? All right. And the second thing, what the SD-WAN helps is because your SD-WAN or the FortiGate SD-WAN solutions, they are actually a next generation firewall. So we are not having a separate SD-WAN device, what typically some other vendors do. For FortiGate, the SD-WAN capabilities are built into those FortiGate devices, so they are next generation firewalls. On top of that, we just have the SD-WAN capabilities, which is just a feature, right? You're not, as a customer, if you already have a FortiGate device, you're not paying any license, you're not buying any additional appliances. It's just a feature on top of our device, right? And it has the next-gen capability. So now organizations can, securely have a local breakout, because now you can go to internet directly, you can go to public cloud directly, and maintaining the security what you typically have in a data center, right? Instead of backhauling that traffic to your head office and then going to the cloud. All right. So that's the second use case which the FortiGate SD-WAN can help. Next slide, Farhan. Yeah, and the last piece of the migration is, once as an organization you are happy with the performance of your ADSL and broadband, what organizations, what we have seen typically do is completely get away from MPLS and have multiple ADSL connections, because now what SD-WAN is giving you, it is giving you link load balancing, it is giving you the performance what you need, it is giving you it is giving you all the services what you would need from the link monitoring perspective, from the SLA perspective, right? So you're having all those capabilities, and you're using both those ADSL as redundant links, right? If one fails, the traffic automatically switches over to the other one. When both the links are active, you can utilize both the links, and that basically helps you in reducing a lot of cost, because obviously if you compare MPLS and ADSL, there is a huge difference in terms of the charges you would be paying to your ISP, right? So this is how SD-WAN can really help organizations migrating from MPLS to the traditional, from traditional MPLS to these modern connections, which could be ADSL, which could be 3G, 4G. We also have certain devices which gives you the capability to have the SIM inserted directly onto the device, so you can use those connections also to connect to your head office. Those very remote kind of locations, you might have that kind of requirement. Next slide, Farhan. All right, so from the Fortinet perspective, this is what Fortinet believes, or this is what the vision of Fortinet is in terms of when we talk about SD-WAN, right? So Farhan, can you build out the slide? Because I think I'll have to keep asking you every 5 seconds.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah. So to start with, for Fortinet, SD-WAN is not a product, right? So we are not like acquiring a new company, or we are not selling another appliance to customers, which is what typically other competitors are doing, right? So for us, it's just a feature. It's just a capability which is there on our next generation firewalls, right? So that is the first thing. Second thing, the idea is to basically simplify, right? And when we talk about simplification, you have, things like zero-touch provisioning, you have things like orchestration, you have things like single pane of management, right? And then what you need to do, or what the SD-WAN should be able to do is, you need to select the best path. So if you have, one ADSL and one broadband, or if you have two broadband, or multiple different connections, there should be a capability that you can select the best path, and that best path should be selected not just based on the link speed or something. It should be based on multiple factors. It should look at latency. It should look at jitter. It should look at the packet losses. It should keep monitoring all of that, and whichever the link is performing best at that point of time, that link should be selected, right? So that's what we we do, right? The next very important thing is the application intelligence, right? If you still keep doing things based on a source IP and a destination IP and sort of a thing, you're still not getting the full value. So the solution should be application aware, so you can take those decisions based on an application, right? So for example, if you have your corporate applications like Office 365, Salesforce, or SAP, or whatever, that should get the best quality of service, or that should go through the best available link. But if somebody's watching a movie, or somebody's watching going on YouTube or downloading stuff, then you should give it the least priority, because that's not something which is very productive, right? So that's where your application intelligence plays a part, your quality of service plays a part, right? And what we are doing on top of it, on all these things, is we are using an overlay networking, right? So on whether it is an MPLS connection, whether it is an ADSL connection, whether it is a 3G connection, any kind of a connection, we are, SD-WAN is working as an overlay. So it's not some sort of a special interface what you need. Any kind of an interface can be configured to be used as an SD-WAN, right? So that's what Fortinet believes, and those are the things which we're trying to have in our solution, which we're gonna talk about a little bit more detail in the next slides. Farhan, can you move to the next slide? All right. So what do we deliver as a solution? So that was from a very high level architecture point of view, from use cases point of view, from a business point of view. What you're actually, the underlying technology, which is giving you those capabilities. Of course, you have our FortiGate devices, which are having a purpose-built chip. That is one of our key differentiator, that we just don't use any normal Intel kind of a CPUs and processors. FortiGate designed their own chips, right? So we have purpose-built chips which are for SD-WAN, which are for VPN, which are for security services. So there are dedicated chips which are designed for these purposes, and that's why we give a performance is much better than our competitors, right? So that's a platform, and obviously you have different various models available depending on the need, depending on the size, and depending on the scale you're looking at. Right. So that's from the hardware perspective. It's available as a hardware. It's available as a virtual appliance. It's available in the cloud if you want to host it somewhere in the cloud. So there are various form factors available, right? What you get from the functionality perspective, it is what is delivered by our FortiOS, right? So you get all the advanced routing capabilities. You get the SD-WAN capabilities. You get the next-gen firewall capabilities. You get the WAN optimization capabilities. So everything is part of the OS. So it's not like, there is a special hardware or a special OS for this. Whether you are having a very small device or whether you're having a big chassis-based device, the feature and functionality is going to remain same on all our devices, right? And last but not the least is obviously the centralized management. I mean, if you have 100 devices, 500 devices, or 500 locations, you basically want to have something which can be automated. You want something which can be, managed centrally. You get some analytics capabilities. And that's where we have FortiManager, which basically helps you in managing everything from a centralized location. And again, that's available in multiple form factors. It could be appliance, it could be virtual machine, it could be a hosted service. So, as a customer, you get the flexibility to choose whatever, meets your needs and your requirements. All right, next slide. All right, so this is what I was talking about is the ASIC, right? Because we have these purpose-built ASIC, and that's why we give the better performance, because they're designed for this particular SD-WAN capability, right? If you just use a typical Intel-based processor, it's gonna do the same thing whether you're using it for SD-WAN or you're using it for something else, right? There is no optimization over there. But when we have our own chip, that gives you a better performance. And the next slide is going to highlight that. So if you can move to the next slide, Farhan. So if you compare our performance with our competitors, whether they are VMware or Viptela or Meraki or all of those guys, within the same bracket or within the same performance and the same price range, you can see the huge difference in terms of performance. So if you're talking about a VPN performance, whether you're talking about a next-gen firewall performance, and I'm just talking about our very smallest device, which is 100F, right? That gives you almost 10 times more performance than any of our competitive products. it's not marketing, right? I mean, the number one reason is that we have purpose-built chips. I mean, the chips we are designing is for this particular functionality. I mean, if you use that chip for something else, it might not give you that kind of performance because it is designed to do a particular functionality, right? And that's where the difference comes, when we compare our performance with any of our competitors. Next slide, Fran. All right, so let's talk about some of the use cases which you can achieve with the SD-WAN or secure SD-WAN. So a lot of the other competitors say it's an SD-WAN. For Fortinet, it's we call it a secure SD-WAN because we're doing security and SD-WAN everything on the same device and the same solution, right? So the number one use case anybody who wants to migrate or who's looking for an SD-WAN solution is how you can have a better application performance. How you can have a local breakout, and if the traffic is going to the application which is hosted in a data center, how intelligently you can select the link which is going to give you the best quality and the best and the least amount of latency, right? So that's something which SD-WAN does. So when you do a look, you have multiple connections. We are identifying the application. That is the number one thing. And then we are basically looking at whichever the link is performing better, we select that link, right? So that's the number one use case which SD-WAN achieves. The next slide is going to highlight what is the technology and the capability we're using to achieve this use case, yeah? So Farhan, next slide. All right, so to achieve the application, experience and have a good application experience, so what we are doing is, first thing is the application steering, right? So how we do the application steering is we do application identification, that what is that particular application on layer 7. Then we do the link measurement. So if I have 5 links part of my SD-WAN, then I'm going to select, based on this application, whether it needs low latency or low jitter or, the highest speed or whatever, I can select that link. And at the same time, it also has the failover capability. So for any reason, if that link suddenly starts performing, bad, or it's not meeting my SLA criteria, then it will automatically fall back to the next link, which is now performing better and without dropping the connection. So it maintains the session, but still, can fail over to different links depending on which link is performing better. The second thing what we do is quality of experience. So you have forward error correction, you have packet-based steering. So you can use multiple links and you can load balance the traffic through multiple links. And that is not just done on session, that is also done on packets, right? So, and then you obviously have flexible SLAs. When you define those SLAs, you're monitoring, what kind of SLA you want for that particular traffic. And this is something my colleague is going to demonstrate in the demo as well, right? And then, we have segmentation. So if you want to do multi-tenancy, you can do multi-tenancy. On top, on all these, things, you're using a VPN as an overlay, right? So everything is secured. And if you happen to have a kind of a huge organization where you have lots of branches, what we also do is we have dynamic VPN. What it means is if you need to have spoke-to-spoke connectivity, we can support automatic establishment of a tunnel, right? So you don't have to create those VPN tunnels across kind of a full mesh all the time. It can happen automatically whenever there is a need. And that is something we call as doing the dynamic VPN. Next slide, Fran. All right, so the second use case which you can solve from the SD-WAN is, how you can be ready for the cloud, right? Because as we discussed in the first slide, the biggest problem today is when the organizations are moving to the cloud, they are still going through the data center, which you don't want. So you want to have that going directly to the cloud, but the problem was not having enough security, right? So now with the next gen firewall capabilities built into our SD-WAN, we solve that issue, right? So now organizations can, go to the cloud and SaaS applications directly. And can you go to the next slide, Farhan? Yeah, and to achieve that use case, from the security perspective and to make those branches connecting directly to the cloud, these are the capabilities what we provide, right? So, we're talking about threat prevention. So all our next, firewalls are next generation firewalls. They have the IPS capabilities. They have the URL filtering capabilities. They have the application control capabilities. Whether you're talking about, having an on-prem sandbox or a cloud sandbox or having, detecting, botnet kind of communication, right? Encrypted traffic visibility. That's really, really important because today your 70 to 80% of traffic is encrypted, and unless you're doing SSL inspection, you might be missing a lot of bad stuff. You might be missing a lot of malware, right? And we are the only one of the only solutions which are supporting TLS 1.3 because TLS 1.3 is the latest version, and a lot of vendors are still not supporting TLS 1.3, they're still on TLS 1.2, right? So that's also very important that, your latest, TLS versions are supported when you're looking at the security and SD-WAN solution. And obviously, you have, integration with the cloud. So we have integration with most of the cloud providers. And we also recently released, a use case where you can have cloud-to-cloud connectivity and you can do an SD-WAN between cloud to cloud, right? So we have integrations with Azure, we have integrations with AWS and similar kind of providers, right? On top of that, we also have a solution which is helping you in doing shadow IT and shadow data discovery, which is called FortiCASB, right? Now today, when the organizations are moving to the SaaS or moving to the cloud, the biggest challenge they have is they don't have visibility of what's happening in the SaaS. Because the SaaS application can be accessible from anywhere, from any device, right? I mean, somebody having an account on OneDrive can upload files from Office, and he can go home and he can download those files on his home laptop. How are you going to get visibility of that, right? So that's where you need something which is integrating with your SaaS applications and giving you the complete visibility of your shadow IT and shadow data kind of issues, right? Next slide, Farhan. And third use case is obviously we talked about how we can simplify and how we can automate that. So, when we talk about simplification and automation, you talk about like how we can have a centralized management. All this, multiple branches should be managed centrally. That's number one. And second is, we should have some sort of a, zero-touch provisioning because you can't have resources, cannot have IT people going and visiting each and every branch and kind of configuring and deploying those devices, right? And of course, you should have some sort of analytics and some sort of reporting which can give you that how well your branches have been performing, how well your links have been performing over the period of time, right? So how we achieve this use case is through, various different, capabilities we have in our solution. Farhan, next slide. Yeah, right. So first is the centralized management. So as I said, we have our FortiManager, which helps you doing the centralized management. So all the SD-WAN related policies, all the next-gen firewall related policies, everything, is managed from one central location. So if you have 100 branches, you don't have to manage all of them manually or individually. You basically have one single console to manage everything. The second thing is analytics and reporting. So the FortiManager has inbuilt analytics and reporting capabilities, which is kind of very helpful for NOC and SOC team because they want to keep monitoring how the links are performing, how the applications are, the SLAs are met or not, what kind of things are happening, and it gives you a historical view as well, right? The third thing which comes into the orchestration is obviously the zero-touch provisioning, that how we can do zero-touch provisioning, right? So we're going to talk about that in the next slide, and then we also have a lot of compliance-based reporting available as well, which if you have some best practices to be followed by PCI, HIPAA, those are compliance-based reports available in that in the solution as well. Next slide, Farhan. All right, so these are just some of the screenshots, Farhan. We can skip through this. This is just talking about the FortiManager capabilities, that what kind of monitoring dashboards and sort of things we have. So we can skip through these slides. Let's get to the extended. Yep, let's skip through this. We have, yeah. So we want to focus on the zero touch. So this is what, one of the another use case when we talk about. Oh, it's moving too fast.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight on the zero touch because that's something which is really important. So what happens when what Fortinet offers in that space is you have something called as FortiDeploy. So what we do is when you need to ship the device, the devices are kind of registered, and you just ship the device to wherever the location you want to, and somebody just has to power on the device and connect the device, just do a physical cabling. And what happens that these devices will automatically connect to FortiDeploy, and FortiDeploy will basically tell them that where your FortiManager is located and basically give you the IP address and those details. And from there on, FortiManager takes care. FortiManager pushes all the configuration, whether you have FortiGates, FortiSwitch, FortiAPs, whatever the devices you have been, have been shipped over there, and everything comes automatically up and, gets up and running. Configurations are pushed, everything is connected and is ready to go, right? So that's what zero touch provisioning is. And, that's how it can help reduce, complexity and reduce some cost as well. Next slide, Fran. All right, so that, those are all the, use cases from, what you can achieve. Obviously, there are lots more. We can't talk about each and every one of them in this 1 hour, session. But of course, if somebody is interested, we can obviously, have them, discussed later on in more detail. But that's what we normally, you can achieve on a high level, right? Just a brief on, Fortinet. Fortinet has been obviously the leader in the cybersecurity space, and we have been there in the market for 20 years, and we just don't do firewalls. We talk about the whole fabric. We are leaders and recommended by NSS in firewall market, in email security, whether you talk about WAF, whether you talk about endpoint, whether you talk about EDR, whether you talk about load balancing, whether you talk about secure web gateway. So we basically talk about from a fabric perspective, right? And when it comes to SD-WAN, we already have 21,000 customers globally, right? So, SD-WAN is the fastest growing market. That's number one, and it's the fastest growing revenue from for Fortinet as well, right? And we are recognized by Gartner. We are recommended by NSS Labs, so we can share those details. You can go to our Fortinet website and you can find those Gartners and NSS Lab reports as well on our website. All right, next slide, Farhan. Yeah. So let's just quickly cover this up, and then I'll hand it over to Huzaifa so he can run through the demo. How long we have, or we have already over time?
A bit over time.
All right. So do you want to skip through the SD branch and jump to the demo?
You can cover, if
Sure. Let's go through it just quickly in 2 minutes. All right, so we talked about the SD-WAN, right? And that's typically where majority of our competitors play, with their typical dedicated SD-WAN solutions. What Fortinet did is we kind of evolved this from SD-WAN to a secure SD-WAN. So when you just go with our FortiGate solution, you are having a secure SD-WAN. So it gives you security plus SD-WAN. But that's a transformation at the WAN edge, right? How about if we can extend that transformation from WAN to LAN? That is something organizations are looking at in a long term, right? And that is something we as Fortinet are kind of leading the way, and we are one of the only vendors who have extended that secure SD-WAN capabilities into a secure SD branch capabilities, right? So how we do it? Farhan, can you go to the next slide? All right. So the first thing we do is obviously you have the secure SD-WAN, with our FortiGate devices. What we do on top of that is we can add our Forti switches. And once we add the Forti switches, they become part of the FortiGate. So it's not like you're managing those switches as an independent devices. They basically become an extension of our firewall itself. Because I mean, if you have a branch, you might have laptops, desktops, you might have printers, you might have cameras, you might have access points, and they need some sort of a physical connectivity. And typically, what you have is you might have a switch from a different vendor, which you're managing it, maybe individually or maybe centrally if you have some centralized management. What FortiGate does, it basically removes that complexity as well, and consolidate multiple vendors, and having a skilled people to manage those different platforms, right? So that's number one. And the second thing, what we do, Farhan, can you build on the slide? All right. So that's how we extend the secure SD-WAN into a secure access, by having the FortiSwitch. And then on top of that, if you need to have a wireless connectivity, we have FortiAPs. And then once you connect these FortiAPs to the switch, they're automatically discovered, and you are managing the full wireless capability as well from the centralized management console. So now you have one centralized management console, which is managing your full stack of WAN, SD-WAN, next-gen firewall, switching capabilities, and wireless capabilities. And that's how, in the long run, Fortinet, the vision of Fortinet is to basically transform the whole WAN and LAN into one single consolidated solution. And on top of that, what you can do is, if you're looking at a zero trust secure access solution, which is we're talking about NAC, what FortiGate devices do, they also act as a sensor for a NAC. So you don't have to deploy those NAC appliances in each and every branch, because our FortiGate devices can act as a sensor, right? Farhan, can you build on the slide? That next slide basically talks about the NAC thing. All right. So that's how we use a proprietary link or proprietary protocol called FortiLink, which basically helps us discovering and managing our Fortinet devices. So from the firewall, you have a FortiSwitch which is connected, and from the FortiSwitch, you have the APs connected. And what you see as an administrator is one single device. I mean, you are not managing your APs individually. You're not managing the switches individually. Everything is managed from one single console. Next slide, Farhan. All right. That's the NAC piece we talked about. So, from the secure access, you can extend that to zero trust access, where you can have a NAC solution integrated with this whole fabric, and your FortiGate devices can act as a NAC sensor. Next slide, please. I think that's basically the last slide. Should be the last slide.
Yes. Oh.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and again, apologies, guys, for all those inconveniences and interruptions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pervez. Thank you for a very wonderful presentation. I'll now hand over to Josefa, who can, show you a quick demo. Josefa?
Yeah, I'm there. Thank you, Farhan.
Yeah.
And thank you, Pervez, for the session. I'll just try sharing my screen. It shows it is shared. Let me know if you're able to see anything.
Yes, Josefa, I can see a screen.
Yes, we can see.
You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Just confirm, because I'm out from that Zoho.
Yes.
So can you see the topology here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, guys. Okay, so once again, I know we are running a little bit late, so I will try to wrap it as soon as possible, in possibly 10 minutes or so. So just bear with us, guys. Apologies due to some work from home situation and the connectivity issues. We are just running a little bit behind. So just to give an overview about the setup, we have a few systems in our demo setup. We have a local FortiGate. Then we have a local Windows system. So the Windows system connects to the local FortiGate as its local gateway. So whatever traffic generates from local Windows goes to the gateway, that is the local FortiGate. And local FortiGate connects to the Linux, which in our case, the Linux machine is just acting as an internet router. Then on the other end of the Linux router, we have a remote FortiGate, and we have a remote Windows connecting to the remote FortiGate. Okay, so only change here. We also have a FortiManager, okay, to centrally manage all our FortiGates. So only change in this particular diagram is for this setup. What I have done, if you on the remote FortiGate, you can see two WAN interfaces, port 4 and port 5. So just to show the SD-WAN capabilities, I've just added port 5 on local FortiGate itself. Okay, and from there is also a VPN running from local FortiGate to the remote FortiGate, simulating a branch and head office kind of scenario. So I'll take you to the console. Now, configuring SD-WAN is pretty easy. It's just 3 simple steps. So on all the FortiGates, you will see the option of SD-WAN under network and SD-WAN. So the first step you have to do is go to SD-WAN, okay, and enable the SD-WAN interface. So per firewall or per VDOM, you can have only one SD-WAN interface. In that SD-WAN interface, you can have multiple physical VPN interfaces. When I say physical, you can have any type of WAN interfaces. You can have ADSL links, MPLS links, modems. We already saw that in the presentation. So I have 3 WAN links added: port 1, port 2, and port 5. As I mentioned, I took port 5 from the remote FortiGate and added to the local FortiGate. Okay, and I also have added a VPN setup, a VPN interface, remote internet, which connects to the remote FortiGate. Okay, and in the same tab, you can also see the SD-WAN usage monitor, very useful. So here you can see the bandwidth, volume, sessions. Okay, you can see the pie chart based on volume, based on bandwidth, based on sessions. Okay, the distribution of sessions, the distribution of bandwidth across all the SD-WAN member interfaces. Okay, so here to add a interface, it's pretty straightforward. You just select the interface, add the gateway. That's it. We are done. Now next, the second step is to set performance SLAs. Performance SLAs are nothing but your health check monitors and parameters or thresholds. Okay, so you can have all organizations have certain destinations, certain applications which are critical for their businesses, right? So we just have to identify that, and we have to just select that as our destination, as our application, in order to add performance SLAs on top of that. So here I'm showing you an example of a performance SLA. So I've named it as business critical apps, and for servers, I'm pinging office.com and salesforce.com to check the connectivity, to check how much latency I'm getting, how many packet loss I'm getting to reach office.com or salesforce.com via these participants. So I've added all available 4 SD-WAN interface members. I'm saying I want to monitor the performance for office.com and salesforce.com over all the interfaces. Now SLA targets, I have mentioned it as 100. So if any link, either port 1, port 2, or port 5, goes over 100 milliseconds to reach office.com or salesforce.com, it will be considered to be outside my performance SLA, and it will not be considered as a best quality link, okay, suitable for handling that traffic. Okay, so similarly, I can show other there is IaaS, that is public cloud. So I have aws.amazon.com, azure.microsoft.com. I'm monitoring that, and for here I set the latency as 150. Okay, so different destinations, you can just play around with the latency, with the SLA targets. More critical applications, more critical destinations should have a lower latency. Okay, so here you can see as soon as you add the performance SLA, you will see the results here that to reach office.com, salesforce.com, latency from port 1 is 36 milliseconds, port 2 is 36. Again, from the VPN interface, it is 38 milliseconds. So once we are done with the performance SLAs, the last thing left is to do the SD-WAN rules. Okay, so here we are it's just a sort of a firewall policy. Okay, here you select the source address. Here you can select the destination address or internet service. So internet service is a database of known cloud services. It's a database which comprises of IP addresses, port, and protocol of all the known cloud services in the world. Then we have our application database. So you can select ISDBs, internet service databases. That is, then you can select application. The last in SD-WAN rules is selecting the strategy, whether you want to select best quality, lowest cost, or maximize bandwidth. Best quality and lowest cost is selecting one particular link for a particular destination, whereas maximize bandwidth is you can say it is load balancing. Okay, here best quality and lowest cost will be considered only to select a particular link, the best link out of all the available destinations in interfaces. So here we have selected the two interfaces to handle our Microsoft Office 365 and Salesforce traffic. We have selected that our interface preference is port 2, and if port 2 is not good enough, then shift the traffic to remote internet. Okay, so our first preference in the order is port 2. Maximize bandwidth, it will start load balancing. Manual is pretty straightforward. I am not considering any performance SLAs. I don't care about SLAs. I just want that this particular destination should always go out via one particular link. So manually I am selecting, okay, for Office 365, go to WAN 1, go to WAN 2. Don't look at any other SLAs or anything. Don't do dynamic. It's manual. Okay. So here we have it. I'll show the IISS one as well. So here you can see it's set as maximize bandwidth. Now I'll just show an example here. So here you saw for business critical apps, Salesforce and Office 365, it's supposed to go to port 2 first. So we'll, as per our rules, we'll just go to few destinations. Okay, so we've gone to salesforce.com, outlook.office365.com. We'll just refresh our forward traffic log. And here you can see, okay, for Salesforce, for Microsoft Outlook, you can see that the destination interface selected is port 2. Okay, so the destination is selected is port 2. I'll just refresh it again to see more logs. Okay, so here you can see msftauth.net. Okay, so here you can see this is Microsoft authentication. Everything is going via port 2. You can see the remote internet, but it is for other traffic. So of course, it's not only the things that we have added into our SD-WAN rules. We have other traffic flowing as well, right? So we are not considering that particular traffic at this moment. We are focused on the Microsoft and Salesforce traffic. So we can see it's going out via port 2. Now we'll just introduce. See, we'll try to simulate a real world scenario where the latency of one link goes high. So we'll see if it shifts to the next best link. So I've introduced a 500 millisecond latency on port 2 via our internet router. Okay, so I will just take you back to our SD-WAN performance SLA monitoring, and here you can see it's gone red. You can see that the port 2 is now not within our SLA targets, so it should not be considered as the best link, and it is not suitable for handling traffic. Okay, as per our SD-WAN rules and as per our performance SLAs. I'll just close the ongoing sessions. Okay, hopefully there's nothing cached or something. So we should see the traffic going through our VPN interface via our head office. Okay. So, and salesforce.com. Okay. So we'll go back again to our logs. Okay. Now, within a minute or something, we should see that the traffic is slowly shifting to remote internet. You can see. Okay. These are all going via Akamai. So it's a CDN. Okay, which might be handling traffic. Okay. See, now you're seeing less and less traffic going to port 2 and everything is shifting. We are just looking for our focus traffic. Here I think we have already got it. So here you can see Salesforce is now shifted to remote INT, because for Salesforce and Microsoft Office 365 now port 2 is no longer the best interface. We'll also just go to aws.amazon.com and Azure to see the load balancing. Now there were 3 interfaces selected for this particular traffic, that were port 1, port 2 and port 5. Okay. Okay, now we'll quickly just go to our logs. Okay, now you can see we are seeing some traffic for Microsoft Azure from port 5. Okay, and Microsoft CDN from port 1. Okay, AWS from port 5. Okay, and port 1. Now I want to highlight one very important thing. Okay, usually if you know, in firewall the load balancing is session based. Now this three particular logs are very, very important. Here we are doing packet based load balancing. So here you can see the source is same, the destination, IP, URL, everything is same. So even for the same source, same destination, we are still load balancing it. So our SD-WAN is a true packet based SD-WAN. So here this, I wanted to highlight this in the logs, and fortunately we are able to see that in the logs as well, considering the amount of entries that are there. So it's very unique. And if I just disable the latency, okay, it should be back again. The performance SLA should be back to normal. Okay, it has reduced and it is now back to normal. Okay, so this was showcasing the dynamic failover, and one of the use cases was centralized management, single pane of glass management. So just a couple of minutes and we are done. I will just showcase the FortiManager here. Okay, so here we have the device manager. Okay, where from where you can manage the multiple devices centrally. No need to log in onto individual devices. If you notice here, we have the SD-WAN tab. Okay, so you can do the SD-WAN configuration for all your devices centrally. You can manage SD-WAN from a central location. Okay, I can also create the SD-WAN template for the new device, which is remote FortiGate. I can configure it from scratch as well and deploy it from here. Okay, and consider if you have like 100 devices, so the FortiManager makes it very, very easy for you to manage SD-WAN, to manage your FortiGate devices or all your firewall devices centrally from a single console. You can also monitor your SD-WAN performance SLAs, and all your connected devices. Right now, we only have one device with SD-WAN enabled, so it shows here in the map where it is located. So I'll just zoom out. Okay. So guys who are not from the UAE, we were present on the Sheikh Zayed Road. Okay, so you can see we are there in UAE, in Dubai. Okay, if you have multiple locations, multiple geographical locations, you can see all devices connected to each other. Okay, and we also have a table view, a good view to showcase all the member interfaces and their health. Okay, so here you can see for Amazon AWS, we have selected 3 interfaces, port 1, port 2, and port 5, and all of them are green, means all of them are healthy. Citrix and GoToMeeting, we have selected is manual. We have selected the strategy as manual, so it's not monitoring the performance SLAs for Citrix and GoToMeeting. And similarly for Microsoft, that is port 2 and remote internet, which we just verified and just checked in the logs. The last thing is the SOC dashboards of FortiManager and Forti available on FortiManager as well as FortiAnalyzer. Very important. So it showcases the top threats. So here you can see if any malware was caught, if any malicious websites were visited, malicious or high risk applications were accessed. Okay. We also have different monitors. We had the device status monitor. Okay. For remote FortiGate, I'll go to the local FortiGate. It shows the connectivity is up, the license information, the configuration status, the threat dashboard as well. So top threats in the last 1 day. Okay, and of course, right now it's a demo environment. We just have one source, so the amount of logs will be less. But in real world scenario, just even with 10, 15 sources, we will see a huge amount of logs, and this all particular widgets and dashboards will be highly populated. So here it's a very nice threat destination view to see from where did the threats originate. Okay, very important. So guys, that's it from my end. I'm hopeful that it was helpful, the short demo that we had prepared for you guys. Okay, thank you guys from my end. I think Farhan or Bindya can take over from here.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks to the CNS team and thanks to the Fortinet team as well. Thanks again. Have a great evening.